Hello dear chess friends, welcome to our new video. Are you ready to get a lesson and to see the most instructive game about centralization ever played? Yes, you are on the right place. Enjoy our channel, subscribe and support us please. Next game is played in San Sebastian in 1912. White was the great master of that time, Akiba Rubinstein, great Akiba. Black was Karl Schlechter, also known as a very stable player who was a real master of defense and avoiding risks. So unfortunately in those years Akiba Rubinstein perhaps was together with Lasker maybe the strongest player in the world, and they had some negotiations to organize some world championship match, but unfortunately World War I stopped there in planning that match. Unfortunately, I say, because I'm a really great fan of Akiba Rubinstein, and I really think every coach, every trainer should with great pleasure and very demonstrate games of Akiba Rubinstein, because I think really you cannot find another player in chess history such dedicated to centralization. Always centralization was on primary place and in Akiba's focus. Let's see what happened in that game. White played d4 and after d5 knight f3, knight f6, c4, e6. Game switched to decline queen gambit, but after knight c3 black finally chose Tarrasch defense. C takes d, knight takes d5. Of course, e takes d is maybe more principle and also very often played, but I don't have any doubt White will continue with g3. Well, that was very well known Rubinstein patent, and that opening, that variation was later named after him. After g3, bishop g2, well, White wants in future with bishop g5 to put pressure on pawn d5, which would be probably isolated after that pawns d4 and c5 disappeared the board. So in that position, Black decided anyway to take with knight, and of course White gets a possibility to take control over the center. White builds strong pawn center. Black knight is under attack and Black decided to exchange, of course retreating with tempo. Yeah, and the fastest way for Black to develop his pieces is c takes d, where after c takes d, the most normal, the evident continuation is bishop b4. And after bishop d2, Black continued with queen a5. Black insists if opponent will play first, and this is the moment we must stop. Definitely, no one wants to take first, and if White takes, Black will deliver check with a tempo, capturing the bishop. That will not be good. So evidently White wants to force Black to take. But let's see what will happen if White takes first. Queen d2, and after queen d2, yes, you are right, dear chess friends, if you will suggest White should take with the king. Of course, it's the endgame on the board. King in the endgame belongs to the center. There is perfect place for the king on e3, and White will, the fastest way, finish development by activating bishop f1 and rook h1. So the question is if White can force Black to take first. Well, a3 comes to mind, of course, but after that, after bishop d2, queen takes, king takes, we achieve same position, and only difference is pawn is not on a2, it is on a3. But evidently, that should not be counted as serious benefit for White. It is not a real benefit for White, so that would not be good option for White. And then we get decision to play this move, rook b1. So let's see what's the point. If Black insists protecting that bishop, the point is he will just lose the game after powerful strike rook b4. After this, queen b3, Black will lose material due to that pin, and for instance, next variation can be one of beautiful ends of this game. I will show that game. I will show that potential end of the game till end. Well, variation can go this way. Bishop b5, and after that queen b4. After knight e5, queen b4, yeah, sacrificing the rook. There is queen b5, and soon there will be mate. So after king f8, just queen b7, and there is no way to avoid mate on f7. So beautiful. So beautiful line. Hope you will agree. In our game, bishop d2 was played, queen d2, queen takes, king takes, and white achieved serious benefit because now rook is on b1. If black insists protecting queen, there is huge problem because after that, now he's in trouble, and queen d2, king d2 will now put him in serious problems. So after queen d2, black decided to take, and now we must stop again for a moment. White has strong pawn center, white has initiative, white has 2 pieces developed against 0 developed pieces from black side, and still looks like white has something extraordinary, but actually black can somehow resist, black can fight for equality by next move, not castling as happened in the game, but black can go for something like, let's say, b6. With idea in some moment to play bishop a6, of course, probably after white already moves the bishop, or black can continue with king e7. And now I will give you some potential variation. After bishop d3, there is rook d8, and after rook hc1, maybe knight c6, and black can organize something. But after castling, huge mistake, king goes to the corner. That move gives Rubinstein possibility to play perfectly. Evidently, white wants to punish opponent for previous bad move. Well, evidently castling is bad move because black king now will not affect on future play. It is far from the center and some serious time is needed to bring that king back to the play. It would be better to do king e7, king is safe there and ready to take part in next clash. So after castling, white must do something to punish opponent, and evidently he wants to finish development some fastest way. Now what would be the fastest way? After bishop d3, white will achieve nothing because there is some fine variation. I'll show you. And bishop a6. After this normal move, black can capture, and after knight a6, white has nothing. For instance, I will show you some variation. Black can forever chase that rook, offering exchange. And in moment white gets exchange, let's say in that moment, okay, rook c1 gives nothing because black king will go to the center after f6. Furthermore, it's not only the fact black is out of problems here, no. Furthermore, black can even hope for something more than equality because he has better majority. You know, dear chess friends, 2 against 1 is the best majority you can have on the board. Yeah, of course, I don't consider a situation you have 1 pawn against 0. That's just passed pawn, not a majority. So if opponent has majority on the board, you should avoid exchanging pieces because, you know, removing knights from the board, removing rooks from the board, black will even play for a win due to better majority. So I hope everything is clear, I said, and here white won't be able to set serious problems to black. So white must find something extraordinary because that normal development with bishop d3 gives absolutely nothing. And Rubinstein find absolutely brilliant move, one of perhaps the most beautiful move I ever seen, and probably one of the best he ever played. The point is he played bishop b5. Absolutely amazing move. Such approach will very often implement so-called patriarch of Soviet chess school, world champion Mikhail Botvinnik in his career later. So what is the point of that approach? Play actively, provoke some weakening on opponent's side, retreat and use the weakness. Exploit the weakness. That's the point. So bishop b5 prevents many moves. So if knight d7, white will take, and after bishop d7, of course not rook b7 because of bishop c6, let me show you, where black takes pawn on e4, but just knight e5. Bishop is under attack, and after that, well, that endgame is absolutely lost for black. White has better king, better rooks, better structure, game is over. If black takes bishop, if black plays bishop d7, even worse, of course, white takes pawn for free, game is over. If black plays something like knight c6, okay, once again white captures, and with such desperately bad pawns, black cannot survive. Of course, that endgame is just lost for black, as you can see. So what can black do instead? If b6, rook h, c1, now bishop a6 gives nothing because white bishop is not on d3, it is on b5, and there is excellent possibility of a4. What's the point? Black is not able to take the bishop and play knight a6 like in variation, white bishop is on d3. So if now black takes, of course white will take back with the pawn, and black knight is paralyzed. If black tries something with a5, there is rook c7, and eventually pawn b6 will fall with a win. And if black plays a6, okay, white can still continue with that, and both pawns will fall after rook b5. The point here is black is not only pawn down, but he is desperately passive. And let's finally see what happened in the game. Black must play a6, and now bishop goes back. As you can see, there is not pawn b6 move, so black, if wants to play something like this, he must play b5. He must play b5, he first play rook d8, rook h, c1, b5, and of course that sad necessity, white plays rook c7. Even if white does not play this, that pawns on a6 and b5 are legitimate targets, and I will just show possibility. If there is king e3 and if black plays bishop b7, now white can exploit that advanced pawns with simply playing a4. Black will lose material with getting lost. So white plays even better. Rook c7, knight d7, and now we want to stop for a moment. Just take a look, dear chess friends, of white ultimate centralization. All white pieces very soon, and even that rook b1 against black poorly placed pieces on back ranks. All that is consequence of poor plays by black. He allowed big mistake by playing short castling, and all that is consequence of very inventive Rubinstein moves. Rubinstein move bishop b5. Since that moment till the end of the game, black pieces would be placed on a file, on h file, or on the 8th rank. They would not be able to get any chance to get centralized, to get active. And let's see how white starts and how white continues actually constricting and squeezing black position more and more with that dangerous, powerful pawn center. Evidently, black has idea to play knight f6 somehow to relocate pieces to get space for the bishop, to play bishop d7, and Rubinstein finds perfect maneuver king e3, and after knight f6, not of course h3, which would be just primitive move, but knight e5. And absolute harmony, that's why I highly recommend to all of you to suggest games of Akiba Rubinstein. With king e3, white king protects pawn d4. Then pawn d4 protects knight e5. And finally, knight gets back serve to the king by preventing that potentially dangerous check, knight g4. So instructive harmony, all white pieces in the triangle, king, pawn, and knight supports each other, helping each other. Same time, of course, white knight liberates advance of f-pawn can march on, and white attacks pawn f7. Black finishes development with bishop d7, and of course, white strikes with g4. Remember, he who dominates in center is allowed to play on both flanks. This time, white plays on the side he is stronger. And that's always good advice. Play on the side you are stronger. So after g4, white threat simply g5, and after h6, once again, very instructive Rubinstein's decision. The question for you, dear chess friends, is would you rather choose f4 or h4 to renew threat of g5? Well, if you said h4, you would be wrong, because after this, black knight will retreat. White has open h file, which will not bring him so much. Why need so much time to invent to double on h file with idea to deliver check? Black will just move king to f8, e7, escape, and h file will give nothing to white. So dear chess friends, if you don't know what file should be open, if you don't know what pawn should be used to support advancing of other pawn, think about the file would be open after that advance. So after f4, correctly played by Rubinstein, this, now white will have open f file. And yes, f file can offer white much more than h file, because there is clear object for white attack. Pawn f7 is target. Furthermore, after knight h7 and h4, white has one more benefit from taking with f pawn. Well, the point is he can later use h pawn to march and to create passed pawn, which would be on the side, and pawns on the side are highly needed in the endgame. That pawns are the most dangerous. Yeah. What to suggest for black? He continues exchanging passive pieces for active pieces. Generally, that is good strategy. White continues protecting the rook. Rook c7, rook d8. There was clear and evident threat of marching with the pawn. d5, d6, d7. Rook d8, rook a7, and if black plays rook d6, to both stop d5 and to protect pawn a6. Now look what will happen now to white centralized pieces. Total metamorphosis. After rook a8, king f8, there is g6, everything is forced. Black must taking, and after king f7, check, and e5. After e5, double attack. Pawns attack the rook. Pawn attacks the rook, yes, bishop attacks the knight, and as most important, that attack is delivered same time. Now, what is the beauty of the chess? Just look on the beauty and the relativity. Now, white pieces are in the corner, and exactly that is the winning construction. So, total metamorphosis, white pieces from the center go to the corner to bring white so beautiful and convincing victory. That's why black played f6. Again, black defends well. If you play for a draw, it is good to exchange as more pawns as you can. gf, knight g4, bishop h5. Okay, bishop is active, but still, that piece is still on the rim, yeah, on the h file. If you are attacked, move with a tempo, king h8 must, and finally, white to take that pawn to give black chance with king g7? No. First bishop e2, force black bishop to retreat, because something like this would cost him a rook. White is exchanged up with a win. And after bishop e8, now white takes the pawn. And look, once again, entire white army is perfectly centralized. I will use green markers because that is something good. Black army is stacked and passive, and I will use the red marker to mark that army is on really bad spots. After king g7, knight g4, f5. Once again, playing for a draw, black exchange some pawns, but rook a7 with a check, and sad necessity for black, king must go back. After king g6, I will show you some beautiful line. Maybe that would be better end that game, but let's see what happened. Anyway, that not happened. So h5, king g5, king h5 allows white to take knight with a tempo. So king g5, and now look, check, king goes there, taking, knight h6. Now black knight is under attack, and there would be mate in 6 moves, starting with knight f5, check, and another check, king h1, knight g3 mate, king must go there, check again, and there is no way for black to avoid mate. Once again, I will underline, take a look on black army, anti-centralized and passive on the back rank. White all pieces are setting the mating construction, and that is so beautiful end of the game. We go back. What happens after king h8? Well, with great pleasure, knight goes back to dominate in the center, and after fe4, white to take on e4, white can take that pawn later. Once again, white plays on the flank. Once again, deflection, taking would cost black a rook. Once again, bishop must go back, but this time he defended bishop with this. And now everything wins. Rubinstein decided to take, and here we can stop for a moment. White can use many plans to win the game. Maybe the most evident is check and knight g5, where white would be able to take this pawn. But Rubinstein decided to play directly, and he plays for a mate. With such passive pieces, even knight would be driven back very soon. White decided to manage to do that maneuver, to go for that maneuver, and to win the game. King goes to h6 to set mating construction to its counterpart. After king f4, king g8, king g5. Black protects the knight, and after king g6 he decided to resign. Well, next line is so beautiful. I want to show you what happens if black plays e3. Well, check, and after that knight f7, and after rook takes, of course, if black plays e2, of course, there is rook f6, and due to threat mate on f8, white won't be able to stop that pawn after rook e6. So that's why black resigned after king g6. Absolutely brilliant game, and one of the most published games ever from practice of great Akiba Rubinstein. I will now pay attention again on some important moments. So first important moments is big mistake allowed by black with castling. He should keep king in the center, and that bad move required seriously amazing reaction from great Akiba. He played bishop b5, forcing black to play a6 because there is nothing better black can play in that moment. And after that, black does not have chance to exchange the bishops. I will just admit, after knight c6, black risks after rook b6 to face complete paralysis of the queen side, where white would be able to play king e3, rook c1 with crashing initiative on the queen side. Black will practically play without rook and without a bishop. If black tries to play rook b8 to activate the bishop, there will be just a rook b1, and the point is pawn b7 is lost. White same time threatens to take the knight. So after a6, black is already hopeless. So few moves later, you can see another picture of domination of white troops, and I suggest even that position for the most important leading diagram of that position, for some thumbnail. You can see how white has the brutal centralization, how black has all pieces very poorly placed, and all that is consequence of black poorly placed short castling and white so inventive, so predictive, suggestive move bishop b5. That's why I suggest to all players, to all coaches, to demonstrate and to learn about games of great Akiba Rubinstein. Once again, I will repeat, there is not such player in chess history, in entire chess history, with such dedication and devotion to the centralization. Learn from Akiba's games how to centralize and how to use centralization. I hope you enjoyed that video. I hope you learned a lot from that video, dear chess friends. and see you soon with our new material. Bye bye.